Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Subbing Off. Today we are here with Christian Fuchs, left back of Leicester City. I'm sure you guys already knew that. How are you doing today, Christian?
Really well. Today is my day off from training. We are back in training with Leicester.
Sure, a
Uh,
lot of players would enjoy that.
yeah, we are enjoying it to be back on the pitch, but as you can imagine, we are not used to preseason in that heat. So everything is kind of off and misplaced, but it just feels good to be back on the pitch, back with the
I'm sure.
and play football.
So one thing that I wanted to talk about was the 2015-16 season where Leicester won the Premier League, and this was also your debut season. And Leicester actually defied the 5,000 to 1 odds of winning, but they still did. What a comeback that was. So what's going through your head when you lift the Premier League title?
Well, like you rightly stated, that it was defeating the odds 5,000 to 1. I think that alone says a lot about that season and what the achievement meant to everybody personally as well. I mean, if you compare 5,000 to 1, it's the same like finding Elvis alive. So you can imagine that's kind of impossible.
Yeah.
Rather happy that we made the impossible possible and lifting this trophy, I gotta admit it's hard to put in words if you don't experience something like that or something similar like that personally. I think every player that wins the Premier League is a proud player, because there's a lot of work going into a season and hard work. But given the circumstances for, being an underdog, almost getting relegated the year before, nobody really, well, nobody really believes that you're going to make it. Everybody was cheering for Leicester though. That feeling of satisfaction and relief also at the end of the season to really make it happen has been outstanding, and it's really hard to put in words.
Yeah, definitely an incredible achievement. And I would say that some players will not even experience lifting a trophy in their entire career time. And the Premier League is just such an incredible achievement.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Christian, we've heard many rumors about you wanting to be an NFL kicker. What makes you want to be a kicker, really?
I love the stadium atmosphere.
Hmm.
I like the sport. I really do. I went to a couple of NFL games when they were in London.
Mm.
I missed out on the one game that I was looking forward to go to see the New York Giants, but
Mm.
son was delivered, so I couldn't really make it. Um, I just, I'm kicking a ball for my whole life already, and liking the sport itself, right? I mean, you don't have to ask me about any players, so I really don't know about that. I just like the way the sport is being played. And I might be a little crazy because, kickers, they don't really get tackled,
Hmm.
Hmm.
but I would be crazy enough that I want to get tackled. I want to feel the impact. It might hurt, but okay, well, that's me. And just to extend this experience of being in a stadium, packed crowds, and having this pressure of this winning the Super Bowl in overtime, and being the man on the spot whose field goal decides over win and loss. So that's the dream scenario that I have. And listen, maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but I will try to
I'm
achieve.
sure winning 2 titles in 2 different sports would be crazy.
It would be more satisfying, I guess. Yeah. There was an Austrian who did that a long time ago, Tony Fritsch with the Cowboys, and he was also an Austrian footballer and played in Austria for Rapid Vienna. So listen, we've shown with Leicester that nothing is impossible. So winning the league by 5,000 to 1, what could be harder to achieve?
Yeah, I think Deion Sanders, a cornerback, won the MLB World Series. So that's it's very few players actually win two incredible trophies in two really tough sports.
It's very exciting though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When
definitely.
So, what is it like being able to represent your nation in the sport that you love? It must be a real surreal experience. For the Austrian national team, you ended with 78 caps.
It's with a lot of pride. Um, I was fortunate enough to play in two European Cups, which was in 2008 when I was 21 years old, and then in 2016, just before I retired from the national team. It it has been amazing. I mean, I literally went through a lot of ups and a lot of downs, probably more ups than
Mhm.
downs. And playing for the nation is simply something besides becoming professional, but then being able to representing your colors and also being captain of the Austrian national team is really a childhood dream come true. And the 10 years that I represented Austria internationally, I would not want to miss out on them, and I'm very proud of every single minute.
Yeah, I'm sure you're living the dream of many young children, including me.
I was fortunate enough, yes, fortunate enough.
Mhm. Definitely. So lots of risk and hope going into the Pro League at 17. When we had another person on, Evan Finnegan, he said although there was struggle, he said that he did the exact same thing again, if he could. Were you nervous making your debut at FC Mattersburg?
Yes, of course. Of course. I mean, when you're 17 years old and you have this dream of becoming a professional, first of all, but then when you're so close to making your first professional appearance, yes, you're very nervous, you're very anxious. It's fun. I remember like it was yesterday. It
Mhm.
was December 6th we were playing just in the suburbs against Admira Wacker in the suburbs of Vienna, and I had my debut for 20 minutes. I think I made mistakes only, which is absolutely fine. It was still this one moment that I was working for my whole life before, and definitely an unforgettable experience.
Yeah, it definitely proved that all your hard work paid off in that moment.
Well, everybody is looking for this perfect recipe. Like, how do I make it professional? How do I make it guaranteed professional?
Mhm.
But the only really recipe, as boring as it sounds, is simply hard work and doing more than the rest. That's
Mhm.
what.
Yeah, really train.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah. So when heading into the 2016 Euros tournament, when you had more experience and educated about the tournament, when playing back in 2008, so what was the biggest difference between playing in the second time in 2016 now that you have um, more experience than entering in 2008?
I think the setup was very different. So in 2008, we were hosting the Euros, and and we had good players, but I think the level compared to the Euros 8 years later has changed drastically. So back then we probably had three, four, maybe five players playing outside of Austria, when the 2016 squad was, I think, just the other way around. We had like three or four players that are playing in Austria, but everybody else was playing in Germany, England, or somewhere else abroad. So I simply think the development in Austrian football has changed into a very good direction over the course of those 8 years, wherein the quality definitely improved. And the we had to qualify, right? We had to play a qualifying tournament. We were undefeated in the group stage. We only had one draw and nine wins, and we played teams like Sweden, Russia, which are big names out there internationally. And simply the quality of players and the standard, the level of the training that we had together was a big difference. Big is a huge difference to what it has been in 2008.
So speaking of the national team, so after playing a decade with the team as well as being captain for 2 of those years, what tactics, ideas, and knowledge have you applied to the Leicester City squad?
I I think it's the other way around, to be honest. So the managers that I have met at Leicester, they all have their own opinion, their own ways of playing, and as a player you adapt. You're eager to learn, and for me, it's always to take the best bits, right, from myself to improve my game, to listen, which is a very important part, even on a professional level, even more to listen to what the manager has to say. But for myself, I had probably 20 managers in my career so far, and I can say that I learned something, and even if it's the smallest part, or even if it's off the field, I learned something from each and every one of them. And at the moment, with Brendan Rodgers, I feel like that, okay, I'm 34 years old, probably getting close to the end of my career, but I feel like that I'm learning so much more that I have learned before about football.
Yeah,
And
Brendan Rodgers has been able to bring you Leicester to another, currently at third.
unbelievable, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Different level right now.
Definitely. So, we know that weather conditions can play a big role and impact on the pitch. When we had Isabel Finnegan on, she talked about how the weather really does affect how you're playing on the pitch. Did you guys struggle adapting to new weather conditions?
The only condition that would affect me is massive heat,
Hmm.
because it's simply hard on your lungs and the breathing gets harder.
Hmm.
But other than that, well, listen, the thing is, if you're on the field, right, and if you're playing a game, the weather conditions are the same for both teams. So it's just a mindset to let the weather affect you rather than saying, okay, that's what it is. I'm still going to give my best and I'm going to be better than my opponent. So yes, weather is affecting you, but it should not affect your performance. And that's down to your mindset, how you're coping with it, how you're reacting to different situations. It can be raining. Raining is the best. I love playing in rain, but it can be a big storm that we had at Southampton. And guess what? We won 9-0 at Southampton because we were simply coping better with it. Heat is a different story, but heat again counts for both teams. And if you have your mindset right to accept it and try to give your best no matter what, then you'll be probably coming up out top.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting point because I'm sure most players would kind of think about how they're individually kind of coping with the weather and not how the other team is struggling mainly as much as they are.
Yeah.
So when you first started playing soccer in your early days, you were playing as a forward. Obviously now you're playing as a left back. So what made you kind of switch your role?
The coaches that I had. But I think it's it's very common. So when I'm talking to one of our head coaches, his name is Adam Sadler at Leicester City, there's this common thing that most players, take as an example Johnny Evans or Ricardo Pereira, most of those players when they were young started strikers.
Yeah.
But the good thing about that is when you played striker in your career, early doors, you might be more able to read them and to understand where they want to run. So as a defender, it can only benefit you, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, there were better strikers than I was, and I was more able to distribute the ball. So when I was 11, 12 years old, I played midfield. It's also the creative side was more dominant on my end. So my coach back then said, listen, I don't want to put you as a striker because you can play the balls. You can put our strikers into good positions to score, which is a very important part, as you know. James Madison's example is
Yeah.
perfect.
No.
So I think it was just a natural course of things that slowly I downgrade. No, I wouldn't say downgraded, but slowly I went further back and back, and now I'm left back, and I'm probably center back soon as well. Can play that position, so I'm very happy with that.
Definitely. After having your contract from Schalke expire, it left you with many options to choose for different clubs. Many speculations about MLS move, but what made you actually settle with Leicester City?
I felt that my time in Europe is not done yet. I mean, I was just in my prime. I was 27 years old or 28 years old. So why would I leave Europe around that time when it's simply the best football played in the whole of the world? So my dream was always to join the Premier League, join a club in the Premier League. And I before everything happened, I didn't know that Leicester City was called the Foxes, right? So my last name is German for fox.
Yeah.
And eventually it clicked, and there's still fans out there that didn't know about it, that my name means fox, who are the Leicester City Foxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a great coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences, but it was just my dream come true to finally play in the Premier League. And I wanted to sign for 3 years. Now I'm in my 5th season. Maybe I'll stay a little bit longer. Who knows? But it has been really a pleasure those past 5 years with all the ups and downs.
So talking again about leaving to the MLS in 2016, you had the chance to do that, but then again you did stay with Leicester again, and also the match after that you scored your first goal. So what made you make the crucial decision to stay in England with the Foxes?
Well, I had a 3-year deal, right? So you cannot just break a deal, and I'm not sure how many MLS teams would sign a transfer fee. That's not very common in America. So it was a no-brainer. There are always speculations, and I think whatever is written in the media is, I wouldn't put too much weight on that. It's a lot of speculations. People are feeding the news with information, which is fine. It just makes the whole setup a little bit more interesting, and there are talking points for everybody. But, sooner rather than later, given my advanced career already, I want to play in the MLS, definitely. My family is in New York. I would love to play for one of the New York teams if possible. I mean, Red Bull is an Austrian brand, so it would be a great fit, but I really don't put too much pressure on that because it will happen automatically.
So I think that'll actually wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming. It really means a lot to us, Christian. Stay tuned, everyone, for the next episodes, and thank you.